Morning, everybody. Just doing a quick vlog about Hugh and James Hewitt. They've both posted accusations about me online in court documents. One, I think, is versus Prince. Sorry, not Prince Harry. Hugh Grant versus Mirror Group, and I think the other one is James Hewitt versus News International. But I might be wrong. But they've been posted online and include accusations towards me that I just want to answer really quickly. And I know people get bored of these videos I make, but it's the only voice I have, and they have like huge voices. So I'm a bit upset this morning. It's my birthday, but the decision was made yesterday to keep bombing Palestine, and I don't know how people can be on board with that. I mean, after literally, if you go on Twitter, if you go on my Twitter feed, Christine Hart, Private Investigator, you see I posted reposted the pictures, and children are having their limbs blown off. There's a girl on there who's a quadriplegic now. Dead children. Palestine resembles hell on earth, and I don't know why people aren't caring about them. People got very galvanized over Ukraine offering homes. They were in the street packing parcels, but people, I mean, I'm seeing it everywhere, like, pound Gaza, get Hamas. I mean, but they're like, it's like Ireland and the IRA. We couldn't carpet bomb Ireland because, you know, there are innocent people there, but why are we on side to carpet bomb Palestine? I mean, it's really upsetting, actually, that people are up for that. I think there's going to be a big kickback from God, but people don't believe in God anymore. This is an atheist country, and no matter what people say, they're Christian, or there's no belief in God anymore. There's no fear of God anymore. You have to have fear of God, because as you read in the Old Testament, God can get pretty pissed off. But there doesn't seem to be any fear of God anymore. People just treat people like animals. It's horrific to see Palestine suffering. I will never forget that. Just makes me feel really bad. I spoke to Abraham this morning. He, as you know, he was a guest on the show, and he has got out. He's now in Egypt, but he's now in Egypt, but he's waiting for the rest of his family to get out. They're still in there. I personally want them all to get out. I do want them all to get out, no matter where they go, because Palestine's a beautiful country, but now it's not safe. So, yeah, I don't know where they'll go. Tents, I suppose, in the Sinai. But at least they're away from people that mean them bad. You know, there was some talk about them going to Scotland. You know, we receive like so many people from Eastern Europe, like a lot. So why can't we, instead of doing that, take the people from Palestine? I mean, because of what they're going through, I just feel that they need rescuing. Anyway, I was meaning to talk about this really quickly about Hugh Grant and James Hewitt. So James Hewitt has accused me of stealing some gold cufflinks out of his car. I mean, it's quite funny. It's quite amusing. It is quite amusing, I suppose. I would never steal. I did do, now, Graham Johnson, who is running the whole thing, the attacks on the press. Let's not pretend he's not. Um, he's got very rich out of it. He pretends he hasn't, but come on. um, he he puts up the narrative about me to these people like James Hewitt and Hugh Grant, and he hasn't been telling them the truth. He has made out that I was a little girly girl and used to sit in on the phone, yet I worked for private investigators since age 16, and I was out on the ground. I was doing surveillance, I was doing undercover work, I was barely in the office. And when I was working for the press, I was barely in the office, which is why I've got an inability to get in lifts. I got claustrophobia. I can't get in trains through putting myself in danger. I can do everything that Gavin Burrows can do. I can plump bugs and car trackers and put people under surveillance. When I was working for the press, I had 25 guys on my book, special forces. I used to run army guys. At one point, I had, it's probably delusions of grandeur, but I wanted to be Sandline. This is my ambition. I want to come out working for the press and operate a company like Sandline. It was very ambitious of me, over ambitious, but this was what I wanted to do. I had all these guys. I found that by accident. I advertised. I had a big advert in Yellow Pages, ex-military personnel, because a lot of them were working for me, and it drew more and more and more, and I was doing a lot of surveillance, running surveillances, which I'm really good at that, running undercover work, taking part in undercover work myself. I really enjoy undercover work because you can escape from who you are, and this was my USP. I wasn't sitting at home all the time. It's not, I don't like doing that, which is why they put me with Mazza for a little while, but that didn't work because too many cooks spoil the broth. I don't work like he does. He needs loads of money to do what he does. He also likes turning people over. I like carrying out investigations if people are committing crimes. I don't like to work on celebrities. I don't think it matters if it's things like they're having affairs, whatever. I mean, I don't personally care. I didn't like doing celebrity work because I think we shouldn't be focused on celebrities, which is why I went out and ended up working in Belfast for Liam Clark at the Sunday Times and specialising in the UDA and the real IRA. I was the only journalist to interview the real IRA. They let nobody near them apart from me. And there was a time when all the TV people used to come to me for finding out what Michael McKevitt was up to. And also I was the only journalist that John White let interview him after he sent out the order to murder John Gregg and then had to flee. As he fled, everyone was trying to speak to him. Again, he texted me, I was in a nightclub 1 a.m, that he would let me interview him. I was drunk and I couldn't get on a plane. So I told the Sunday Times news desk and they sent someone else. And that became a front page with my name on of the Sunday Times. So I didn't get where I got in Belfast without having years and years of experience of on the ground. You don't suddenly go down to Dundalk and the streets of Belfast without having been a street person. And I had many years experience of that. I had many years of getting close to Ian Brady, many years of getting close to Kenneth Bianchi. I am good at that. But when Graham Johnson came along, and I brought Graham Johnson to a real IRA meeting in Kilburn, he could have made contacts himself. He didn't. Why is he making out that I'm a little girly that sat at home all the time and never went boots on the ground? It's a clear horseshit because I've written books. It's a clear horseshit because I've got my name on Sunday Times and News of the World stuff as regarding terrorists and other undercover operations, and other stuff that's proof. He's narrated me from the start of this in a very highly diminished way. I'm getting a tiny bit sick of it, because it will backfire. He's used it so he can diminish me, so he can say, oh, look, diminished little person that sits at home, work for the Daily Mail. Oh, what was diminished little person doing then? You know, it's like, it's clear, but I'm afraid, Graham, they'll knock you out of the water with that. I've published with Hodder and Stoughton, mate. I'm a Sunday Times best-selling author, mate. I got my bylines in the Sunday Times, mate. So how are you going to keep this up? You might be able to keep it up with your friends, James Hewitt and Hugh Grant, but you won't be able to keep it up when it comes to this last battle. You're telling people things like, oh, the Sunday Mirror admitted I did this, that, and the other. Yet when I contact the Sunday Mirror, Kate Arnold, she says, no, we didn't. I've had this happen before, that feeding the press stuff. The press don't care as long as you get the truth. But these people are moaning about the press being wrong, but you see, they don't care as long as it's not about them. They don't really want press reforms or the press to be good guys if it's about working class scumbags. No, the working class scumbags can suck up what they want. They just don't want them to go near the elite. This is what they want. They don't care about anyone else. I'm going to fight this. I'm going to fight it in every way that's open to me. I don't mind being accused of stealing James Hewitt's cufflinks out of his car. It amuses me, because at least he speaks about me with respect and calls me a private investigator. What am I if not private investigator or journalist? Does Gavin Burrows not get called private investigator? Huh? Do journalists, does Dave Dillon not get called journalist? Do you, Graham Johnson, not get called journalist? And yet you deny me that, and you call me all sorts of derogatory names, and you tell Hugh Grant to call me derogatory names. And Hugh Grant is actually missing out. He's like, oh, Christine was paid here for this, and it's got my name on it. It must have been a phone call. Well, I'm sorry, Hugh. It could have been absolutely anything, from putting a bug on your car to putting you under surveillance to getting my army boys to put you under surveillance to absolutely anything that includes journalistic work. So actually, Graham, by diminishing me, you know I was really powerful on Fleet Street. You know I was really powerful. When I met with Stephen, can't remember his second name, the producer of Panorama, he came to meet me in the Picture and Piano. He said, I meet the legend. I said, oh, thank you. I never accept compliments anyway. I always bat them away because of childhood abuse. We sat down. He said, you're the girl that can make a paedophile pull over in his car so the Daily Mail can catch up with him and take a photograph of him. This is how I operated. I was really good, and I had these guys on my books. I had Phil Campbell-Smith on my books. He worked for me, and then he got out of his pram and decided he would do certain things that I disagreed with, and I said, I don't want that, and I don't want you to bring that to the News of the World. I was interviewed by Operation Tolita about all of that tech stuff. Oh, but yeah, I'm diminished little person. That Hugh Grant says, oh, you must have phoned some. Oh, phoned? Is that? I phoned someone, did I? I phoned someone. That's really strange, because all of my life I have been out there, boots on the ground, absolutely boots on the ground. And I even joined the RAF as a voluntary person and met Graham Johnson's girlfriend there. He will remember that. I was in the bar with her at the RAF camp, and we rang him. She said, oh, I went out with him. And I said, no. So I rang him. I said, there's a girlfriend here of yours. And I ripped him afterwards. She's absolutely stunning, this girl. She looked like Samantha Morton when she was younger. And he went, oh, she's okay. Okay. She was absolutely stunning and a very bright girl as well. I mean, I don't know what she saw in him. You know, absolute model level of girl, just stunning. Um, but she seemed to like him. Yeah, bizarre. So there we are. There we are. I just wanted to do that because I just feel that James Hewitt is pounding me. I don't mind James Hewitt pounding me. He's really good looking. If I was inside his car or inside his flat, I would have come out of the dark shadows and, you know, I don't know, did something to him. I wouldn't have left it at that. I can't recall, but if somebody came to me, see, these people don't come to you. They just treat you like you're like you've so you fought against them. But it's funny. Last time I looked, I went out with Graham Johnson to dinner all last summer, in the Ivy and in the Picture and Piano. Sometimes it was with James Hanning of he's the ex-editor of The Independent on Sunday. So please, James Hewitt, ring James Hanning. I'm sure you can get hold of his phone number and ask him. He will tell you the truth. Don't accept things from Graham all the time because he seeks to diminish. And as he seeks to diminish, the true story doesn't come out because he's too busy diminishing, trying to diminish. I don't know what it is. I think he's threatened by me. I think he's threatened by the power I had when I was on Fleet Street. And so he thinks, I know, I'll rewrite the past and make Christine look smaller. But my achievements are out there. My bylines are out there. My books, properly published books, are out there. So good luck with doing that in the future, because I think with the Daily Mail that are going to fight back, the story will unfold. The story will come out there. And don't you see, it's part of the story. Part of the story, what I have done, I'm part of the story. And you've deliberately, Graham, diminished me. And that will be part of the story. Like, why did he do that then? Well, you've done this. Why are you called that name? Why aren't you called Private Investigator? Not in the case of James Hewitt. He's clearly got a brain. Anyway, as I was saying, I did not go near James Hewitt, but if he came to me and said to me, look, were you in my flat or my car, I would talk to him, find out what the stories were appeared, probably know something about the stories. I worked with Clive Goodman. He was obsessed with the royals. I liaised with Prince Harry's bodyguards. You see, this is connection. I employed Phil Campbell-Smith. It's a Northern Ireland connection. Phil Campbell-Smith went undercover. He was Force Research Unit. He went undercover with the Real IRA in South Armagh. He did some story with Lewis Panther. I then approached Phil. We went out and had dinner. We met in Salt in Kensington really late one night. We became buddies. We started hanging out in Shepherd's Market. He was working for Company X, the XMI6, Michael Oatley and James Oatley. He was working there. I had worked for them, so we had a lot in common. He introduced me to Charlie Johnson, the SAS guy. I ended up having more SAS on my books and dated Charlie for a little while. Yeah, that was all very odd. Anyway, so that was strange for me because I was going out to South Armagh and mixing with those guys and then coming back and seeing Charlie. It was kind of weird. It was a weird thing. It was a weird situation. I also liaised with the Real IRA undercover operatives like Peter Culty, who were running around London sometimes on the street, sometimes in a van, demanding that MI5 pay them a lot of money or they'd go to the press. So they were meeting up with me. We ended up doing a story about them on the News of the World. So also at one point from the Real IRA, I had got a bomb warning, which I was rung at rung up my flat 2 o'clock in the afternoon, told to go to a phone box, ring a certain number. When I got there, I was told to go to another phone box, ring another certain number. This went on for about 4 or 5 phone boxes. Then the last one, I got a bomb warning with a code word. So obviously I had to, report it. Is that not boots on the ground? That's more boots on the ground than frigging anybody. Anyway, sorry. To continue the James Hewitt thing, Prince Harry. So Phil Campbell-Smith was Force Research Unit. We became very close buddies. We would go out once or twice a week at Shepherd's Market. Literally at the end of the day, he'd say, drink, and I'd be like, okay. And we'd go down there, and then he introduced me to the rest of the Force Research Unit. And there was a little bit of a battle going on with the Sunday Times editor, Liam Clark. He kept writing stuff about Martin Ingram, and Martin Ingram was a whistleblower on the Force Research Unit because they'd been killing people, IRA basically, out in Northern Ireland with the UDA and the UVF. So they were Martin Ingram, who talks like that, and I've never met, but when I was interviewed by Operation Tulliter, they they said, you know him. I said, I don't know him. I'd remember if I had ever met somebody who talks like that. And the guy was pissing himself. But I was friends with the other side. So there's the Martin Ingram side, and then there was the boys that were against Martin Ingram for whistleblowing. So Phil Campbell-Smith was really against Martin Ingram. In fact, I was interviewed for Panorama just after the phone hacking had stopped, and I got cut out of it because Phil Campbell-Smith got put in it. I said, you pushed me out, you bastard. He said, I hardly wanted to be in it. So he was there confronting Martin Ingram and saying that he had listened into his emails, looked in. So Operation Tulliter spoke to me about that whole thing. So I had been going out drinking with Phil Campbell-Smith, and he introduced me to the rest of the Force Research Unit, and some of them were Prince Harry's bodyguards. So what would happen, Clive Goodman would say, oh, is this happening about Harry? Is that happening about Harry? And I would ask, I'm not going to name names because they're dangerous as fuck. But they would let it slip. I didn't blatantly say to them, I would be drinking with them and say, oh my God, guess what I heard? Oh, could that really be true? And they'd be, a bit kind of silly and tell me. But they did get nasty with me, but they got, on our drinking sessions, but they got nasty with me about Liam Clark. They said, you like Clark, you work for Clark. And they said, you know what we'll do? We'll put a sack over your head, we'll tie you up, and you'll throw you in the river. This is how I was spoken to. And I would go out to South Armagh and Dundalk and go in the Emerald Bar and be spoken to by the real IRA with this attitude. That's why it annoys me to be, I'm sure I suffer from lots of problems after that, mental health difficulties, such as PTSD and anxiety, because literally just getting threatened constantly, and to be unprotected, it makes you a bit, shell-shocked or something after the whole thing. But I pushed myself because I wanted to be a journalist. I want to be a good journalist. Graham Johnson has taken that from me, single-handedly robbed me of my past by putting out. I just sat at home. I was a little girl and sat at home all protected, probably a man around, and I've never had a man actually ever really. Yeah, I've dated for a few months and that's been it. I've never really had a man. I think probably because I'm a man, I think I've been very much in my male side, and when you're like that, you're kind of, I mean, I'm still a woman. I've looked for someone that's more male than me, and it is, you know, when you find, it makes it really hard. I mean, someone like Phil Campbell Smith, I did find him slightly attractive, but then after a while, you know, I'd be talking to him and see weakness in him, and not be attracted to him anymore. And this is how it went on for me, and it wasn't great to be like that, really. So I have lived like a man, and I push myself, and I've been out there, I've been boots on the ground. I haven't got my life anymore. Not since 2009 when I was pushed out of the press. I haven't got my life anymore, and it's been really hard, really, really, really hard, and I miss it. I miss doing something. I suppose, do I miss putting myself in danger? Probably. I like the adrenaline of it. If I was younger, I'd probably be out in Egypt now, boots on the ground. This is what I like to do. I mean, I like the men involved in those situations. You normally find very male-ish men. So, you know, I got to have a sex life. So, and I also was good at it. I was good at it. I was good. I'd be good at going to Egypt, looking around, seeing. First of all, you see what other journalists are doing. Then you home in on the ones that are good, easy to spot. They're normally on their own and loners. Then you get your contacts, and then you pump your contacts for stories. Literally, I remember one time being told by Greg Miskew that the UVF were shooting each other, and I'd never been to Belfast before. It's my first sending off to Belfast, which really kicked off something in me. And he said, just go over there. I thought, go over there? I just never been there before. Go over to a strange country and find out why a paramilitary group is shooting each other. But I wanted to do it. I was just bang on wanting to be a journalist with a passion. And I remember sitting on the plane, and he rang me and said, or text me, whatever. I don't think you can, well, back in the day you couldn't kind of do that. I don't think you had to turn mobiles off. But he said to me, hit the ground running. Oh, it might be after the plane landed. Hit the ground running. I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, you don't fuck around. You don't go in a cafe and have something to eat. You go straight into work mode and you find out what's going on out there. I literally had no idea what to do. I went and booked into the Europa, sat there, drunk their little bottles of cognac. I never forget the taste of a little bottle of cognac and Coke. I thought, this is heaven. It was so nice. And just didn't know what to do. No idea what to do. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I pushed myself. I asked around with journalists what pub do the UVF guys use, went into it, got speaking to someone, told them who I was, got taken to a safe house, got the story, got met up with a cop then to get their side of it, wrote it all up, went back, had another cognac, and the story got in the news of the world. I flew back to London, really excited, to my flat in London, got up the next day, went to the newsagents and stood in the newsagents flicking through the paper. There was the story, we tracked the racketeers, News of the World investigates, with the byline, Paul Fitzpatrick. Yeah. I'll never forget how I screamed. I threw down the newspaper, running back to my flat, and I rang Greg Miskew at home. I called him a cunt, and I said, what the fuck do you think you're doing, you fucking cunt? That's my work. Who the fuck is he? Why has he stolen my byline? And Greg went cheerfully, oh, that's a made-up byline. You said you wanted to be incognito out there. It was a total lie. It was Phil Hall. Phil Hall, who I dated, didn't want my name known in Fleet Street, didn't want me to tell the story, how he'd made up a story about me back when I was 22. So he kept me down. That's utterly, utterly unforgivable. Utterly unforgivable for that. That I go and risk my life and then end up without a byline. I eventually got my byline in on my real IRA investigation. I learned to fight for it. I literally was down in South Almar, got the interview with second in command, I think, of the real IRA. Anyway, it was Liam Campbell. We then eventually had sexual liaison. I said to them, you won't get one more story out of these boys lest you put my name on it. And I remember that night I was in the Emerald Bar and it was really late, and I rang Greg Miskey at home and I said, whose name is on that story? Because I knew it was going to be a front page and a middle page. I said, whose name on it? He said, well, who wrote it? I said, I fucking did, but that doesn't mean it's going to be my name on it, does it? I know very well. And I was ready to be disappointed. And but I woke up next morning. I was in the I wasn't in the hotel at the time, and there it was. We get inside the real IRA, which then made the second in command say, we get inside the real IRA got inside you. So that I've written about in my book. So to say I wasn't boots on the ground when literally, I had my back on the dirt in the middle of South Armagh forests, getting pounded into the dirt. For you to say, Graham, that I wasn't boots on the ground, that I was a little girly indoors making phone calls like someone like this Susie that I'm hearing about that rings people's vagina doctors and I get blamed for it. And you know full well about it, which is on tape apparently. That'll be fun to play that in court, won't it? Or even play it to documentary makers, because apparently there's two documentary makers filming, not filming, it's only in treatment stage, but this will all come out, you see. So it's best not to lie, you know. You've had your fun now, Graham, diminishing me. Now take your foot off that particular pedal. If you don't take your foot off that particular pedal, I will 100% make sure that that's revealed in those documentaries. I've already been asked, will I talk on them? I mean, try and stop me. I could talk till the cows come home, especially about being blamed for murdering Sienna Miller's baby when I put pregnancy because I thought she'd be perceived as a monster by anybody who saw her that she'd had an abortion to Jude Law. If that is correct and I wasn't misinformed. My instinct was a maternal instinct to protect her, and that has just been urinated on in the rush to protect Susie, because apparently she's a powerful estate agent. How's an estate agent powerful? I'm scratching my head. But maybe, Graham, you just like her. So anyway, back to Hugh Grant. So Hugh, you really have got me all wrong. It could have been absolutely anything, or it could have been one of my army boys. You really should just ring me up and ask me. Or why don't you ring James Hanning, who can tell you that I met with Graham Johnson all last summer, that I met with Bruce Goodison, a Sky producer, that I let myself be interviewed by the BBC. It was only because James Newton was bullying me that I pulled out, that I complained about it to a journalist friend. They said, pull out. Tell them you just pull your whole thing. So I pulled my whole thing. Or I wouldn't have done. I was happy with the interview with the BBC, happy with James Hanning. So ring James Hanning and ask him that. Ring him and ask him, Hugh Grant, ring him and ask him about me as well. I've helped you people all the way along the line. Ask James Hanning about that too. Why would I be going out to dinner with Graham Johnson all through the summer and James Hanning if I wasn't helping. That's what I was there for. And yet that's been washed away and lied about. Oh, nobody's ever come out apart from Hacked Off and said that I, only because of Christine Hart, did Sienna Miller get her payment. But that soon, I don't know who did that, but that soon stopped. But now I haven't been called a whistleblower. Graham Johnson is saying, oh, I'm the whistleblower. But Graham, you're not the whistleblower. That's me. I'm the whistleblower. So please stop diminishing me. Stop not saying I'm a whistleblower and it's you. No, it's me. I believe you're doing that just because you want to diminish me for back in the day. I think. I don't know. It must be that. There's no other reason. There's no other reason to not tell the truth who I was. And because of that, things that Hugh Grant is, oh, what did you do? It must have been a phone call. Oh, must it have been a phone call, Hugh? Of course, it must have been a phone call. After all, I'm a woman. I mean, come on. I'm going to end it here. It's my birthday. I got no money to go out to dinner. I'll just sit in, I'll watch TV, I'll watch Netflix. Nobody's bought me a present. I can't afford to buy myself a present. We're living in a black mold infested flat. My son can hardly breathe. His mattress is covered in black mold. This is our lives because of these people calling me. I don't know what they're calling me, but they're certainly... I don't mind false accusations. I don't mind someone saying, you creeped around my flat and all that. As long as they respect me and call me a journalist or a private investigator, not a made-up name that Graham Johnson made up and passed to Dear David. Why? So you can make out I'm a sort of like, oh, you're just a woman, yeah? I mean, does Gavin Burrows get called names? No, he doesn't. There's nothing that Gavin can do that I can't do, but does he get called a name? He never gets called a name. I get called a name because I've got a pair of boobies. And because of that, they don't even get to the truth either. That must have been something to do with the phone. If Christine had her name on an invoice. Yeah. No, wrong. Absolutely 100% wrong. I'm going to end it now. I have to go and have my miserable existence. And I'm self-publishing my book. I didn't like the way it was put out. So I'm going to republish it, what it was actually about. What it was actually about is looking for somebody, looking for my life partner. So I'm going to republish that. It's called Twin Flame, and I know I do sort of write my own story again and again, but it's to try and get clarity, to try and get meaning and purpose. I'm looking for my meaning and purpose spiritually, because it's always spiritually to have a meaning and purpose. I'm not sure what my meaning and purpose is. Somebody wrote the other day on Facebook about some of us are here to be victims and then to expose how they've been abused. And I actually think that that's my purpose, just to be pounded into the ground and then to say this publicly, and for people to realise that, oh, hang on, that's not great, that's misogynistic, that's sexist, that is not telling the truth of who you were, it's not honouring you, it's just pounding someone in the ground because, oh, you went in the Priory, but, it's not very nice. That's what we're not doing now. It's not PC. It's not yada, yada, yada. So anyway, I'm sure it will make good TV. Thanks for listening.